Hi, we're Daniel and Ailey for Design Break, and today it's our first ever live video. We're going to be answering some common questions about web design, and if you guys have any questions, add them into the comments and we'll try and answer them as quickly as possible. All right, we're back. So we've got a few questions that we commonly get when we're working with clients. So we thought we'd answer those. And of course, if there's any questions you guys have, just leave them in the comments, and we'll give them priority as well. So so if you have a question, just let us know. So yeah. Do you want to take the first question here? The first question we have is, can I use my old content, or do I need a copywriter?
Yeah, so this is actually a question we get asked quite a lot. A lot of people who have existing websites want to just reuse that old copy instead of hiring a copywriter to sort of write up new content for their services and whatever they want to sort of say on their website. But a lot of the time the website is really old and their services have changed, and really the sort of benefit of having a new website is that you get to reposition yourself and sort of update your messaging to your clients. So that's even, maybe the copy is even more important than the actual design of the website, because you really want to communicate to your clients quite clearly what you do. So I mean, you don't need to have a copywriter, but it's almost pointless getting a new website if you're not going to really spend a lot of time on your messaging and content.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess then moving on to the second one, what is the process for building a website? So I guess it's a long process with the different stages. The first stage is, for us as an agency anyway, is the strategy stage. And most good agencies will have this stage first as well. And this is where we do sort of a discovery process, where we learn about your brand and learn about your ethos, your values, and we then work out what you want to achieve from the website, what the desired results are, what the outcomes you want to get are, and basically package that into what you want to achieve from the website. The second stage is then the design, and we think about the user experience, the journey they're going to take through the website based on that strategy, and design for the avatar we've created in that original stage. And then the final stage is the build, where we take the design that we've done and we build that into a sort of final website developed on a content management platform, which is the sort of build process. So that's kind of, I've skipped over a lot of the steps there to kind of summarize it, but that's sort of roughly the design process.
Yeah, I think it's quite important to sort of point out that someone might come to us and say that they need a new website, but they might not necessarily need a new website. They maybe need to go and see someone about their social media or their marketing. So it's not always, you know, a website isn't always a solution. It's almost like if you take your car to the garage, you want the mechanic to diagnose the car. You're not going to take the car and be like, oh, I need new brakes. Like, you let them sort of diagnose the problem, and that's kind of what we do with strategy and website, and that's what it should be. It shouldn't be someone just comes to you and wants a website and you just deliver it. You should ask questions and work out what the best solution will be to reach their audience.
Definitely, yeah. It's very easy for, you know, freelancers or agencies to just design a website and just deliver a website, but if it's not the right solution for the client, then it's not going to give them any value. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that part of the process.
Definitely. Okay, so and the next question here is, how long will it take to build?
Yeah, I think that's, how long is a piece of string?
Depends on the size of the project, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, feasibly you could build a website in a few days, but it depends how in depth you need to go and how technical it is. It really does depend on the project.
Yeah, and I think like that's the actual build stage. If you're talking about the entire process, you know, it's going to be a month at least. I think, you know, I would if a new client comes to us and they haven't got the strategy stage, the sort of minimum is about 2 months, because there's a lot of research that needs to go in there and a lot of thinking about the process and going away. And, like sometimes you need time to kind of formulate what your ideas are going to be and or what the message you want to get across is going to be. But yeah, as Ailey said, like the technical build could be, could be pretty quick. If it's for a small website, a larger website would be definitely a few weeks.
Yeah, especially if you've got like development and stuff in there. But if it's almost like all the work is like beforehand, and then the actual build. If you've done all the work, the design and the working out the strategy and all the content is there, and you've got it all ready to go, the build doesn't take long. It's that background work that takes the most of the time.
Yeah. So I've just noticed a question come in from Bob Gentle on the comments there, which is, what do you like best about Webflow? So there's so many things I like about Webflow. Probably I think that the single best thing about Webflow is the granular control. So if you don't know, Webflow is a content management system that we use, but it's more than just a content management system. It's basically like a visual design tool that allows us to design a website that outputs the code. So there's no kind of like page builder software. There's no we don't need to use WordPress and Elementor or anything like that. It's an all-in-one package, and it's excellent. But the granular control basically means you have really finite control over all the elements. So if you've ever used a page builder before, you kind of just have to stick with the pre-built elements. They might give you a couple of customization options, so you can change a few of the colors, like background colors and things, or fonts, but they don't give you loads of control, like the tiniest amount of padding here and there, or moving something a few pixels this way and a few pixels that way. And when you're a designer, or if when you have a design eye, or if you're a perfectionist, you really want to have that granular control. And with Webflow, it's exactly how you imagined it. You're able to create it. So that's what I really like. And then things like the animation. So you can choose a fade on animation on a page builder, but you can't say, I want it to fade on in specifically 3 seconds and I want it to ease out. And
yeah, it's almost like going from like a cookie cutter type template, if you're used to WordPress, to like being able to shape your own sort of thing. You're not really working to a template. You're kind of just designing with your own creativity, which I think that's one of the major downfalls with Webflow is you're kind of stuck to their preset sort of designs and templates and capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's really good. So thanks very much for the question there, Bob. Good to see you here. And okay, so we'll move on to another one we have in the list here, I guess, since we have time for a few more. And the question here we've got is, should this website really be an app? And I think this is one we actually get asked quite frequently, because we do a lot of platform development as well, and developing MVPs for clients. So
I think it was almost a trend. It's maybe not quite a trend anymore, but it was definitely in the past few years. It's been a trend of everyone just jumping on the app bandwagon and trying to develop their offering into an app. But if you think about, I always try to relate it back to myself with apps. Like, I'll only download an app if I'm really going to use it every day. And you really need to ask yourself if your audience, if it's a tool they're actually going to use every single day. Otherwise, they're probably not going to use up space on their phone to download it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's downloading the app. People, I think now even more so, become, I wouldn't maybe say wary of apps, but it's like you say with taking up space. It's like people, you want to kind of keep the experience on your phone clean. People don't want to just load tons and tons of apps onto their phone. And it's almost sometimes less convenient, depending on how your home screens are set up, to find apps. But there definitely is use cases, as Ailey said, for apps. If it's going to be frequent use, and depending,
I guess if it's like a really niche thing as well, that there's not many apps out there, something that someone really is going to get quite a lot of value out of, and they're going to want to sacrifice that space or the convenience of having it there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think and the functionality will be a big part of it as well. So if all the functionality can easily be built into a website, then there's less reason for an app. Obviously, things like if you were going to design a drawing tool that makes use of like the Apple Pencil for an iPad or something, obviously that's going to be an app. So the functionality is obviously going to determine that. But you can do so much with web now and web technology that it's.
I think a lot of the time apps are much more expensive. It's more of an investment with an app.
Definitely. And you're almost always going to have some form of website to go along with your app. So that's another investment to have, because you're going to have both. So yeah, I guess there's definitely a time and a place for an app. It just depends on the functionality and whatnot. So okay, so the next one here, we've got just two more on the list here. So the next one was, what do I need to do? Which is what clients will sort of typically ask us once we've gone through the whole sort of proposal stage and the onboarding process. And then we kind of start with the design stuff, and they're kind of like, what do I need to do?
Yeah. So I guess it depends on the project a lot of the time. It can depend on the budget as well. But normally we work quite closely with clients to like sort of draw the information out of them rather than getting clients to sort of go away, like giving them assignments almost. We try to speak to them and get what we need from them, so they don't really have to actively provide us with much.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as Ailey said there, it kind of depends on what we've established at the outset of how much we're going to do as well. As we mentioned in a previous question, having a copywriter is really great if you're working on a new, like a project or a rebranding project. So if you've got a copywriter there, then you don't need to write the text, obviously. Then you're going to have a copywriter to do that. And we would typically liaise with the copywriter as well. So it means that we can work with them to get the content we need. We can say, we need a piece of text for the header section on a page, and they can sort of provide that for us and work with you guys on that. So, so really, I guess
it's down to thinking. So I think we kind of try to work, because we're trying to work out the strategy behind the website and how to best position the brand. There's a lot of like thinking and sort of discovering and working out sort of where you want to be and sort of working out goals and things like that as well. We try to set out like targets before we start a project, like what they want, what their business goals are, and what their expectations for the website is. So I guess you just need to think about that kind of thing just so we can work out what we want to actually achieve with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we typically work so closely with our clients that it's almost sort of a hand-holding process of they're going to know what they need to do, because we always kind of just keep them in the loop every step of the way. So, so this was an interesting one, which is, what if I don't like it? What if I don't like the result?
I think there's two sides to that question. So the first one probably is, I think you'll know early on if you don't like it, because we do the design first and we kind of do it in iterations. So it's like trickle fed, and we sort of work out how it's going to look. It's not like we just speak to you, have a meeting, and then 2 months later come back with the website. It's more of a back and forth. So that wouldn't happen. But the other side, did you want to?
Yeah. So the other side is that the website isn't designed for you. And there are some cases where you might be the right demographic for what you're offering, but most of the time you're not. So we're designing a website that's going to be the perfect website for your customers or your potential customers or your user base, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be for you. And I think that is it's quite a tough thing to get sort of immediately come to grips with, but that's just kind of the reality of it, which is that unless you are your own customer, or you could potentially be your own customer, the website is designed for a different demographic to you, so you might not like it. You're not really supposed to like it. It's just one of those things.
I think thinking about it logically, it makes sense to assume that you have to like it for your clients to like it or your customers to like it, but in reality, it's that doesn't always match up. Yeah,
definitely, yeah. And as Ailey mentioned in the beginning, we the process that we have is sort of an iteration based process. So on the other side of it, kind of early on how it's going to look, and we would also explain that whole process. And I think it was maybe Chris Dole from the future that said, when you show designers of the past, it was all about the dramatic reveal. They would go away and they'd be like, wow, look what I did, and the person would be like, oh, wow. But actually what you really want to do is when you show the final design to the client, you want them to go, of course, because it should be that you should have led them there and explained the process. They should be aware of why it's designed that way, and that kind of keeps it.
I think a lot of the time it's good to have our clients involved in the process as well, because it is their like brand and their vision and sort of their whole livelihood most of the time. So they want to be involved in the process, and it's not. I don't think it really works or makes sense to keep them out of the loop for the design part, and then just to sort of try and do a reveal at the end.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions there. So no other questions at the moment in the comments. So I think, I guess we can sort of wrap it up there. So yeah, that was the first ever time we've gone live, and it didn't go too badly, I don't think.
Not yet.
So yeah.
It was loud enough and there was no
Yes,
issues.
Yeah, hopefully there wasn't any problems with the audio. Yeah. Well, you'll catch us next week with our next video, which will probably not be live, but who knows? We'll see where the week takes us. And I'll also be back with a video on Monday. So thanks for stopping by, and we will see you in the next one.